Marcanum X. Welcome to the
How's it
show.
going? Thanks for having me on, man. I
Of
appreciate
course.
it.
Of course, man. Of course. You are, you know, when I first got into like hip hop and like specifically when I started making music and I started learning about different artists that exist in the world, you were
hmm
probably the first underground artist that I discovered that, wasn't already big out there, because I've already known
Yeah.
about like tons of the other artists, but like you're probably one of the first like SoundCloud. I think I first heard you on SoundCloud. I don't want to call you a SoundCloud rapper because that's almost like a
Yeah.
diss, but
Yeah.
that's where I
Yeah.
first heard you. And yeah, I think you were my first exposure to a lot of the people that I know now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what song it was that I heard, but I want to say you had a couple songs on there that predated Sons of Chaos.
Yeah. I know exactly which ones you're talking about. The Secret Weapon and The Destructor.
Yes.
And that were actually some of my first songs recorded. So the
Hmm.
history is I started rhyming in 2004.
Hmm.
I had gone to I had gone by different names back then. And see, back then I was really just trying to get into it. I'm elementary school going into middle school,
Yeah.
and you hear stuff on the radio. You hear the Eminems, the D12s, the Lil Waynes, the fabulous artists, and
Hmm.
you hear what's on the mainstream, and that's what I was accustomed to.
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time who Cool G Rap was. I didn't know Jedi Mind Tricks. I didn't know a lot of the legends that have been
Hmm.
around longer than I've been around.
Yeah.
And how I got exposed to that was from playing NBA Live.
Okay.
NBA Live soundtracks had a bunch of like different artists on there, and I think it was NBA Live 2006. That's where they had Gorillas by AOTP. So I
Hmm.
heard that and I was like, "Whoa, this is dope." But I also listened to "They Reminisce Over You" by Pete Rock and CL Smooth on NBA Street Volume 2.
Hmm.
I listened to these different songs and I was like, "Whoa, this is freaking dope. This is insane." Like how come people don't really know about this?
Yeah.
And so the real reason I got into rap at the time was really just to impress girls. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah. I knew some
But
people like
but
that for sure.
yeah, yeah. But that has changed over time for me.
Hmm.
That my motivation has changed with why I make hip hop music now, and it's something as to the effect of it's not really to me as important as it is, and it's definitely a goal, but it's not why I do it. Is
Hmm.
to get paid off my art.
Yeah.
But that the main reason I do it is because I enjoy it. I heard I heard Dr. Dre say the other day or some time ago, he said that as successful as he is and was, if he was just a plumber, making or barely getting by, he would still make hip hop music to this day because that's how much he loves it. And
Word. Word.
I thought I thought about that more and more, and I was like, man, like, why am I doing this? I'm married, I have a kid now. You know
Congrats on
that.
the kid and the family. Everything's
Oh, thanks,
awesome for
man.
you,
She's
man.
yeah, thanks. She's our first, but she's doing great. She's healthy. She's staying good. My wife's staying good, and today's my last day of parental leave before I go back, and so it's nice to just be home and um really spend time with them.
Awesome.
Really, just kind of soaking in the fact and still processing the fact that I'm a dad now, that we're parents now. It blows my mind.
No, definitely. You have a beautiful family and congratulations, man.
Yeah.
That's great. Of
Thanks, man.
course.
Anyway, to get back to what I was saying is, that's how I got into it. Um, I would battle rap kids at school. I would actually take some people's verses because I didn't know what biting was at the time, and I would actually rap battle them with that.
Okay.
Because they didn't know who
Yeah.
those people were.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like they never heard that stuff before, and I was like, man, this sounds really cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the lines and the stuff to actually step in the battle ring now. It's just
Mhm.
I feel like it's better equipped to put it towards songs than it is to actually be a battle rapper, even though a lot of my
Yeah.
stuff is punchlines. Because I say crazier stuff than what, or like really esoteric stuff that people will be like, what the
Yeah.
frick? What
Well,
the
your
frick
your
is he talking about?
your pen game is so fucking sharp right now, dude. Like, I just have to say, like, it's another level. Like, you could the from Sons of Chaos to what you're doing now, it's fucking crazy, dude. Like, the growth there is insane.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of discipline and time to do that. And the thing is like I just don't sit there and write a typical 16.
Yeah.
I will like really feed on the one bar,
Mhm.
um, and see where it goes. If I could build a multi off of it, where does it go?
Yeah.
How does it connect? How does it make sense? Um, and that's really the process. And that I'm this new album that I'm working on. Well, to be fair, or actually, the real truth is I've got two albums I'm working on right now.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about those.
Yeah. So the first one is called MX Machina, and I've been working on this for a long time. So what happened and just the backstory about how everything's been happening. 2013, I had I bought a 2000 XL.
Mhm.
I started making beats on, or actually no, it was 2012 because some of the stuff that like Dissension and all that I made that with the MPC and Ill
Mhm.
Mortals. So then I start working on some other beats. There was one beat that I had, and I took a sample of Rakim's vocal from Microphone Fiend on it, and I had worked with it, and I was like, man, this is like really cool. And then I made another beat out of it, and I was like, yeah, this is cool, but let me see if I can improve it. And then so I did that, did it again. That song now is known as Complicated.
Yeah, it's a great
And
one.
so yeah, so Complicated was inspired by Rakim's piece of the puzzle, Complicated. Because it was not only paying homage to him, but I wanted to put a flip on something from back mid late 1980s to what would be considered, at least in this, the now, but also what's to come.
Mhm.
And MX Machina is more than this is the biggest challenge that I have with this record. MX Machina has taken so long for me to make because first off, I'm the only one that's doing it. Nobody else is producing it. Nobody else is, you know,
Mhm.
really adding the input. I mean, my dad will, because he taught me how to mix and master because
Okay.
he was in a rock band for years. He'll give me points and everything like that. But I'm really the one that goes in and does all the work
Mhm.
to make sure that this sounds good. And I've worked on hundreds, I'd probably say well over 100 beats,
Okay.
and just trying to see what's going to sound good. And that I think that's the biggest challenge with me working on this is I've been a perfectionist, plus other things have happened that have taken up time. I mean, important things, of course, because I went on hiatus 2014-ish or 2015 to about 2018-ish. I went on hiatus, and that was because I was doing full-time college.
Mm.
And then I went and got or yeah, about 2019, I finished college. And then trying to get work and everything, then the pandemic hit. That didn't help.
Yeah.
So, because right out the gate, like literally a couple weeks after I graduated, I was sitting there making beat after beat after beat. I made 10 beats within like 2 weeks,
Damn.
or actually within 10 days.
Okay.
I was making all sorts of stuff, and it was coming out pretty good. And some of those beats, at least one or two of those are what I still have for the final cut for MX Machina. And what the album is really about, without giving away too much details, is it's inspired by Blade Runner, it's inspired by Dune, it's inspired by uh, different sci-fi stories, and
Mhm.
trying to make my own story. And it's following the path of this guy who works for a company, and this company runs. I wanted to put in perspective what it would be like if a big box company like the ones we see now
Mhm.
all of a sudden ruled Earth as one world government.
Mm.
And the thing is it's not to turn people off to the idea of like saying, oh, the government's corrupt, blah blah blah. No, what this is doing is it's taking science fiction and the ideas of hip hop and oppression and blending them together. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish with this record. Is that what is kind of imagining what kind of sounds would you hear during that time? What kind of stories would you hear during that time? Post World War III, we lose, the enemy loses. You have over 600 million people dead.
Mm.
You have all this stuff is going on. And this company rises from the ashes to rule the entire world. And it's different from like, Cyberpunk 2077 or what is it? Johnny Mnemonic or other genres like that that have mega corporations ruling the world. It's more about taking the idea of a monopoly to an extreme and saying, what's going to happen here? And that's kind of the idea. Because if Fool's Gambit, I kind of touch on that with some ideas about that I had written.
Okay.
And that's why it's taken so long, is because it's really figuring those things out. But then again, my wife has to remind me that I'm not making a film. So he has to remind me
Yeah.
constantly that I'm not making a film. But it's really just something I'm really trying to tackle topics of like, what if this actually happened? The
Mm.
consequences of our actions now and all the things that are happening are leading to this. It's just a theory. It's not something that's going to be like, oh, this is actually going to happen. No, that's the whole point that people get wrong about science fiction. And it's something I studied in college. Science fiction is not about, the spaceship fights, the battles, the conflicts.
Mm.
It's more about taking an idea that we see now, the what if, and you put that in an extreme. You see that in something like Dune. Frank Herbert must have been smoking something really good in
He was on
nineteen
the spice, man.
Yeah, he was on the spice melange for sure. To be thinking 10,000 years or 10,000 years in the future. And
Yeah.
this is what happens. You have all these societies who they outlaw the use of computers. So they put it inside of these beings called mentats.
Mm.
You have all of these other social constructs that happen. You literally have a crusade that's led by one person over time, and that's what it becomes. Speaking of which, I'm excited for that new one.
Oh, I can't.
I think
I'm so pissed it got moved back though. Like, ah, I was ready for it, man. The first one was so good with the soundtrack and the
yeah.
cast and the everything, set design, costumes was
Hmm.
ah chef's kiss. But
Yeah, Denny Villeneuve and Hans Zimmer.
mhm,
It's such a magnificent job, and all those people
yeah,
that they have on there, magnificent job.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and going back to that with my album, I wanted to see what I could do with that idea.
Mm.
And it's still all working ideas. Everything could change. It could just be, as what people like to call it now, lyrical miracle, which I think that's a ridiculous term.
I think that was a pushback because so many people were shitting on like mumble rap and stuff. I think
Yeah.
they did that as a reaction to the criticisms of mumble rap, is what I think it came down
Yeah,
to. Yeah.
because I've had one or two people like just online, they'd be like, "Oh, you're just a Dr. Seuss rapper that's not saying anything." And I'm like, "Well, neither are you, dude. You talk about drugs, you're talking about having sex with women, you're talking about all this stuff. None of that means nothing. That
Yeah.
ain't like who's going to be listening to that when they're out in combat in Afghanistan? Ain't
Yeah.
nobody going to be listening to that.
No,
You know what I
no.
mean? Or if they do listen to that, it's
And that music has its place, but it's such like dime a dozen for that style, you know what I mean? It's just
right. It really is. Like I heard someone say it the other day, it's like beats and BS. I was like, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's true. Like, here's the thing, like, but at the same time, I think people need to be a little bit clearer with their description. I can understand their criticisms of people that say lyrical, miracle, spiritual, individual, criminal. I think
Mm-hmm.
the problem is, and they won't say this, is that what they do, there's nothing wrong with reading out of a thesaurus or a
Mm-hmm.
dictionary to understand that. Because I've heard that, nothing is more stupid than you saying a word and you don't know what it means.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to use complex language all the time. But the reason I do it in certain things is because I feel like I have to do that because I don't swear in my music. So
Mm.
I got to have it compensated somewhere, and I'm not going to have it be completely ABC. I
Yeah.
don't want it to be a calculus/science class where every sentence is literally something you have to decipher. But
Mm.
I don't want it to be too simple. You
Yeah.
know,
I
I'm
get
trying to
that.
find the nice medium that
Mm.
people can vibe with, somewhat understand, but they have to do a little digging. It's a nice melting pot of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and I dig it. It's really creative, and I mean, you bought my record, and if you've listened to it, I curse a lot in my shit, but
Yeah.
I have a
I
lot of
haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, so I
Oh,
still need to
okay.
listen to it.
Well, it's vile in some regards, but I have to say I give you a lot of respect for avoiding to not just not curse in your music, but you still take it to a level that like not very many people are able to touch your lyricism. Like period. Like only some like a lot of the greats that do that kind of stuff, sure, but a lot of people in the underground like aren't on that same level with the pen game and not being able to throw in like a like the word fuck or shit or something in there as filler, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah. And
so
that's the thing is like, and that's the other thing is like I'm working on a few songs like that, or a few songs that have but I'm also trying to incorporate a little storytelling with
mhm,
that, and trying to add some little plot twists. But again, not trying to make it into a movie. It's just more,
yeah.
well, this is what I'm doing. This
Mhm,
is what I think might happen. There might be a hypothetical reason for it. That's why Fool's Gambit, I touched on these stories, but I also went back to the dichotomy of, oh, well, I'm right here too. This is also about me.
yeah.
So, and a lot of the things I talked about in Fool's Gambit, where I said, um, while you bask in a carol and you care for the Jenners, but they're too scared to remember. The only column that's holding them all up are obituaries. Offended. So what that basically means, if you got the punchline, was it was referring to Carol Baskin, because people would talk about Joe
Mm,
Exotic. They talk
mhm,
about uh, what's their names, the Kardashians,
yeah.
and the Jenners and all those people. They care about all that reality TV stuff, but when it comes to everything, nobody's going to remember anything about them
Mhm,
because that's all they're focused on. They're
yeah.
focused on other people and they're being distracted by all this stuff. But then they come here and the only thing that's going to be remembered about them is an obituary at the end of their life because they had no
Mhm,
substance. They brought no significant value
yeah.
to that. And that's what I had talked about in
Mhm,
that song. And then the next verse was actually addressing some criticism I had for Against All Odds.
mm,
Um, so, and going on Against All Odds, it took me a month and a half to actually write that. I wrote 10 pages of lyrics. So, because the very first lines I wrote for that were actually not featured in it. And it went something like, there's a menthol bag in the military mess hall filled with Miss Crenshaw stepped on stage with it. Like, there was just, it was stupid stuff.
yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
had something to go off of.
Mhm,
And, you know, I, of course, there were people who, and of course I try not to focus on that stuff. You can't really focus on the internet and the comments and the videos of people like living their rants and everything, but there was one guy in particular who he made like a 10-minute video, and I had to laugh about it because he's like, well, you have all these talentless people that Tech 9 and all them picked and everything, and I'm just like, bro, first off, I listened to his entry. He was off key. He was
yeah.
like, he was trying to be like Tupac when he wasn't. Like,
Mm,
I don't relate to that.
Yeah.
And that's not a disrespect to him or anything. It's just like I don't relate to that.
Yeah.
Everybody relates to something different. Like a lot of the stuff that came out of that, I just don't relate to. And
Mhm.
a lot of the things that I talk about in Against All Odds, and I try to, um, I try not to explain my stuff, but sometimes you have to because then people are like, oh, well, oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
So, like with Against All Odds, I was really just talking about the competition itself, and I was actually poking fun at people who use their. Um, I noticed this trend with people where, and I don't know what it is, where when some kind of competition or just whatever it is happens, they try to use a sob story
Yeah.
to really leverage themselves up. And I used a line in there where I talked about Lori Loughlin and
Mm.
the college scandal that happened to her.
Okay.
And she went to prison because she got her daughter into college and everything illegally or with like fake admissions or something.
Mhm.
But basically, I compared people's sob stories and stuff like that. Like, I'm not making excuses. I'm not doing that. I'm here. I don't need to fake my way in
Mhm.
to this competition. And mind you, I didn't have any connect to Tech Nine. I mean, I met him twice, but he didn't know who I was. I
Yeah.
was just doing what I normally do,
Mhm.
you
And just
know?
for a little context, you're talking about the verse competition that he held a little
Yeah,
while back,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. And I normally don't fast rap either, but
Mhm.
I wanted to. The only reason I did that is because like that's what he's known for.
Yeah, the chopping stuff. Yeah.
He's known for chopping. I normally don't chop. I normally do the boom bap type
Mhm.
vibe, but sometimes, it's like RA the Rugged Man. He does
Yeah, he
he
does
does it.
both.
Yeah, he does both. So it's like why not be able to do that? I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm amazed at it, and I just have to like sit back and laugh. And I do my best not to react to it. I used to be a lot more vocal, if you remember.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I'm not as vocal as I am, and I think it's because um both my life experiences at college and everything have uh taught me to kind of sit back and listen and not be as so responsive as much by the mouth, but at least try to take in more knowledge
Yeah.
by things. I used to be like extremely immature
Yeah,
online.
same man. Same.
Yeah,
I
I
used to
was
get
extremely immature. I used to get in online arguments. I just
yeah.
I don't have the capacity for that anymore.
Yep. Amen to
Like if
that,
I'm
man.
gonna if yeah, I just can't. Like the whole when people get into top five arguments, when people get into like, oh, this dude's dope, this dude's whack, this dude's this dude's that. Like, I can't do that, man.
Yeah.
There, there, there's so much more to life than just sitting here and saying like these five rappers are the best when you're discrediting all these
Yeah.
other people.
And it's all subjective too, so it's like getting in
It
arguments
really
over
is.
like what's better, ketchup or mayonnaise or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like who cares?
Right.
Like, you know. Yeah. So I get
Yeah,
that completely.
absolutely. And yeah, so the other record I'm working on
Mhm.
um is gonna have more of other people's production than my own because I wanted to show
Mhm.
that I can work with people.
Mhm.
And this one, so I've got Johnny Slash
Oh,
on,
dope. He's great.
on board. Yeah. Yeah, Johnny's really cool. Like he and I really hit it off
Mhm.
pretty well. I met him through Dane.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And let's see. I also hit up Domingo. I got a
Okay.
beat from him.
Hell yeah.
That's gonna yeah, and that song is gonna have a murder mystery vibe to it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a beat that nobody's heard, but I cut him a deal and he was good with it. And I've had that beat in the vault for a while. Um,
Okay.
and then I also have another dude who hit me up recently. He's giving me like 5 beats. I'm like, bro, you need to chill. I got this album. I've got this. No, but he was really cool.
Yeah.
His group name is K Crew,
Okay.
but he goes by the name of KD the Stranger, and yeah, he's one of those chopper guys and he's produced for Twisted Insane,
Huh. Dope.
and yeah, and so he sent me some real heat,
Oh
Some
yeah.
of it can be like really choppy, and then other stuff can just be more boom bap, kind of laid back a little bit,
Hmm.
something to vibe to. And of course, I got White Shadow on there. Big ups to him.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
for
I,
sure.
yeah, White Shadow, and I go way back. And a lot of the people I met in the hip hop community was really through Dane, because
Yeah.
Dane was the first guy I really networked with back in 2009, 2010,
Hmm.
and I met White Shadow, and I gave him a verse. It was the one that started off with Demono Ultra Microscopic Silico Volcanoconiosis.
Hmm.
And I gave him that verse, and then he put me on the song with Capadonna. And I was like,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
holy frick. I didn't even know until the day it was released.
Yeah.
So it blew my mind. I was like, holy crap, I'm gonna do more verses with him. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. And because I had done so much work with him, he had given me the option. He's like, yo, so do you I'm gonna give you a choice, and you do a song between you can do a song with either KRS-One or Cool G Rap.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, Cool G Rap, man. Are you
Yeah.
serious? Cool G
Yeah.
Rap. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I love KRS and his vibe and everything. Don't get
Hmm.
me wrong. I grew up on it, but Cool G Rap, like the father of like that real lyricism, that gritty
Yeah.
lyricism that you hear.
Yeah. Yeah. KGR is the fucking man, dude. It's crazy.
Absolutely. I've never met him in person.
Hmm.
Or actually I've never met him, but Team Punks, when we were together,
Yeah.
that they met him because he and Domingo went to a show out in Minnesota when Punks was still alive.
Okay.
And they, yeah,
Yeah. I remember Team
I'm
Punks. I had that record that dropped. That was a good record.
yeah, that was really good. And getting the shout out from Cool G Rap himself to check us out, like that man is not gonna just give anybody a shout out, or
Hmm.
like he'll only really give a shout out to people who are dope. It's the same thing with Tech Nine.
Yeah.
Nobody's just going to be giving you props like that, especially legends in the game that have been around for like 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Because those
Yeah.
guys listen to a lot of people.
Yeah. And I'm sure
And,
they, I'm sure a lot of people send them complete garbage too, all the
oh,
time.
I can't imagine. Like, here's the thing. I will admit, when I first started, I was terrible.
Mhm.
My first song, Secret Weapon and Destructor, they're probably floating somewhere out on a Russian web site or something. I don't know, but
Mhm.
those songs were so bad, and I got clowned for them so hard I took them down.
Yeah, I
And
still
I've
have some. I have still have some of my terrible songs up on the internet floating around too. I know for sure, but
and I have a story behind that. I
okay.
have a story behind Secret Weapon. So this is when I first started getting into the game. Now of course I've been rhyming for like 7ish years, and I was like, you know what, I want to kind of take things serious. I
Mhm.
want to really start getting the ball rolling. Before Sons of Chaos, I had Secret Weapon and I had Destructor, and I did a song with a guy named Perseverance. I don't know whatever happened to that guy, but Perseverance was on the song Secret Weapon with me. And that song was so bad. Not because of him. It just, I don't know what it was for some reason. I was sounding like the Incredible Hulk gargling toilet water. I don't know what I was trying to do, but I look back on that and I was like, "Ugh," and it was just horrible.
Yeah,
And I had privilege at the time to upload to a YouTube channel. You may or may not have heard of it. It was called Terry Hesticles.
I haven't heard of it. That's hilarious though.
Yeah. So I had access to this website just to upload stuff. And
Mhm.
we were given that privilege. As long as I upload this, don't do anything else, that's fine.
Mhm.
Oh man, the dislike meter was hitting me really bad. It was hitting me really bad. It was humble pie lesson.
Yeah.
And it was just hitting me as like, bro, this guy sucks. This is garbage. Like,
Oh
this is
yeah.
terrible. And now
Yeah.
that I look back at it, I'm like, man, that was not good. It
Yeah.
was
Some. I
not
mean,
good.
I remember people telling me to kill myself and stuff like that from some of my earlier music. Like people, people are so fucking brutal in the
People are
comment
brutal,
section.
man.
Yeah.
Like, even on TikTok, like when I post against,
Yeah.
like, you saw the post I made
Hmm.
about that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like he hit me up back in February. He's so like I had just released Fool's Gambit. It had been out. It'd been started to get some kind of traction on Facebook and people seeing it. This guy comments and he goes, "Is this Marshall Mathers?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about, man?" Like I just gave him a question mark. I never like even heard of this guy. And then he messages me what I posted there. I never acknowledged the dude at all. But then I look at this guy and I'm just like, bro, what are you smoking? What are you doing?
Yeah, that guy
There's
was.
nothing. I can't tell you how many messages on social media I get a day of just people like of just spam messages, like wanting me to
Mm.
join the Illuminati, wanting me to know about the good news of like this government funded program of where I could get
Yeah.
refunded all this money I've paid on taxes and all this other nonsense. Like, here's the thing, I love talking with fans. I love having that and being nice and genuine and that kind of thing. What I
Mm.
hate is that it gets mixed in with all the clutter of people just, they spam you with their links. Like, here's the thing, I used to be like that,
Yeah.
but I'm not like that anymore because I learned from failure that people
Yeah.
don't like it's just door-to-door sales pitching but online.
Yeah. It's.
And
Mhm.
it's not fun. And I can't tell you how many times I have to just go like remove, remove, remove. it's
Yeah.
it's a constant process, and sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I'm ignoring it. I can't do it anymore. There's no reason. Like, I will be nice and respectful and professional, but I like, I'll listen to your song, but I'm not gonna, if I like it, I like it. If not,
Mhm.
I can't co-sign it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not
I'm lucky that I don't get a lot of people soliciting their music to me. I don't know what it is. Like I made God happy or something like that, so I rarely get. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I'm blessed in that regard because I know everyone else gets those spam messages, man.
yeah, the rap game is pretty terse, but
Yeah,
I got to tell you, I love making beats. I love writing the rhymes,
yeah.
and I just did those two shows recently. And it was nice
Oh
getting
yeah.
out.
You want to talk? You
Um,
want to talk about those shows?
yeah, yeah. So I had the first show I did was at um, every year in my hometown where I grew up, Taylorsville. They do Taylorsville Days, and I found out that I was like the first. I found out after I did the show that I was the first rapper that had ever like performed at their stuff, and they've been doing that for almost 30 years
Hmm.
because that's how long the town or the city's been around. And I was
Okay.
like, well, that's cool. I mean, when I did that show, of course, you have those moments where, and I had rehearsed it and everything, but of course, that brain fart just hits you.
Yeah.
And lyrics all of a sudden don't come out. You forget. You're just like, the first show was good, but I knew I could have done better. So the next day I went and rehearsed, did all the shows back to, or did all the songs back to back to back to back. And then I went to the arts festival and nailed that.
Mm.
Uh, was a lot better. And the thing with me in shows is, whether it's 10 people or 10,000, I'm going to kill the show.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever I need to do to um make it known to people like this is what I do.
Hmm.
Like, even if I'm not getting paid for it or getting well, that second show I did. But
Hmm.
even if I'm not getting a ton of traction for it, even if I only get one fan,
Yeah.
like, hey, that's great. Like, after the first show, I had a couple girls come up to me and they're like, what's your Spotify? What's your Spotify? Like, that to me is a win.
Yeah.
And a
Absolutely.
lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm amazed at like people that they're like, oh, well, they're trying to get these 250,000 like listeners and followers all within 3 months. I'm like, you guys don't understand like how this game works.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like, you guys are trying to get these big numbers, but you don't have really nothing to show for it. Um, but going back to the shows and everything, yeah, like I had learned because the show I did last year, which was around the time of that competition, was my
Hmm.
first time performing in 8 years. And of course, I was rusty.
Yeah.
I hadn't really rehearsed or anything, but I practiced, got to it. And so now I've got another show that's going to be happening here soon. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it publicly, but
Mm.
it will be on social media here soon.
Okay.
Just because they specifically said like don't promote it, don't do anything. My family and friends know, but I'm gonna have it out here soon. It's definitely my biggest gig to date,
How
and
soon? Because this episode doesn't drop till the 15th. So.
oh, it's definitely gonna be in the fall.
Oh, okay, okay. So.
It's definitely gonna be in the fall.
Okay.
So yeah, but this is probably my biggest gig that I've ever done,
Hell yeah.
and really excited about it. I was lucky enough to get on with the amount of people that have been trying to sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
And but
Is
I'm
it,
really
is it like a venue show or like a festival, or can you even talk about what kind of
it might
event?
give it away if I talk
Okay.
about it.
Okay,
It
okay.
might
We don't have to do that then. Then
yeah,
let's
that no, that's totally fine. But
yeah.
I will say this. I would probably say towards the end of next month
Okay.
is when I can start talking about it and everything and start saying when I can do it. Because I know when I'm going to perform and everything, I just can't really talk about it because it's high priority. It's a big deal.
Dope. Well, that's exciting, man.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I will say that it's about an hour long gig
Oh,
for me.
sweet.
Yeah,
Oh, damn.
so I've been crazy as you can see here, and I'll show this to you. Like these are just lyrics
Oh
alone.
shit.
Yeah, a lot of it is unused.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, over the years and just trying to really like piece together. I mean, I do make fresh and brand new stuff too
Mhm.
on the fly all the time, but I like to have some good stuff.
Plus, I mean, I know you can freestyle. You used to do those live freestyle sessions all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love freestyling. I'll be in the car freestyling
Mhm.
over whatever it is. I'll rap over soundtrack beats. I'll
Mhm.
rap over just normal like hip hop beats, you know, from Primo or uh any of those good beats, man. Crap,
Hell
I'll
yeah.
rap over someone's vocals.
For sure.
What was it that M said? I opened Cage's tape or it's like opened it and dubbed over it or something. Like that's what it's like.
Yeah. So, what's are you born and raised in Utah?
Yes.
Okay. What's
I was born in Salt Lake City.
Oh, okay. And are you still in Salt Lake City?
Yes.
Or okay.
Born and raised.
What's the music scene like out there? Because I'm not familiar with it.
So my thing, I have several opinions about it, but for the sake of everything,
Hmm.
I think that there are some dope artists out here, and I can talk about a few of them. I think my favorite MC out of here, and he's a good friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a while, and I was trying to get him from Ex Machina.
Hmm.
His name is Umong. He's originally based out of New Jersey, but he
Hmm.
moved here, and he was signed to I think it was Illadrenaline Records, and
Okay.
they were the same people that have signed Tragic Allies
Hmm.
and a bunch of other like underground acts. But he's a pretty good dude. I sat down and had dinner with him one time, showed him like what I've been working on, but I have not heard from him since 2021, and
Okay.
I've been really wanting to work with him. It's just you know life gets so busy, and I know he's had things going on that I don't really know about, but I really enjoy his vibe. It's a he works with another beat maker. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's worked with an underground group called Epidemic,
Okay.
and they've done a lot of music together. But um, this guy, uh, this producer, oh my gosh, I'm friends with him on my personal Facebook. He goes by Ked Jack, and
Okay.
he oh BBC Darney, that's his name,
Hmm.
BBC Darney, and he produced it for Umong, and they've made a bunch of records together, like Black Rose Certificate and all that stuff. I think just out of all of them, he's probably my favorite MC in the state, outside
Okay.
of me.
For sure.
um, let's see who else. Melvin Junko. I'll tell you about Melvin Junko. So Melvin Junko, um, He he's a producer. He does
Mm.
rap too, but he got some love from Vinny Paz recently.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, he's really good. He's produced for copyright. He did a song with Artifacts, and big ups to Tame One, rest in peace,
Mm.
because he
Yeah.
um I know that they had done a song together, even a music video. Um yeah, he just does his own thing, and what he does is he produced The Arrival for Team Punks.
Okay.
He did all the beats, the Dissension remix, all that stuff. So when you hear me do the Dissension remix and bigging him up,
Mm.
he did that. And now what he does is he makes a bunch of records. He'll make a bunch of these beats within like a matter of an hour or within a couple days, and he'll
Mm.
slap that together and put it out. He's got over 30 albums of just like lo-fi based beats.
Damn.
Yeah, like really grungy sound. Really just
Okay.
off the hinge to left field, but it's really dope.
Mm.
I'm also trying to get him for this other record I'm doing. And with that, yeah, so I had Johnny Slash, Domingo, him, White Shadow, Junior Machno. I don't know if you're familiar with Junior Machno.
I'm not.
Junior Machno produced F Your Life on the Jedi Mind Tricks record. And
Okay.
he also did I Is the King from the Heavy Metal Kings record.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I got a beat from him many years ago. But I have not used it, and so I'm trying to. That's the thing is like really putting these beats together,
Yeah.
um, and see where they go. Um, but yeah, there's Umong, Melvin Junko. I'm trying to think of who else is really good. I know there was a couple artists that I knew locally that died
Mm.
recently. I think there was Yoga Flame Kane. I never knew him. I do remember meeting MC Pigpen the same night that I met. Oh, what was that guy's name? I met him once. He was an interesting dude. Oh, I'm trying to identify him. He's a Jewish rapper that dissed Kanye West. Oh, what is his name?
uh
Oh, he's a bigger known act. I have a picture with him floating around on the internet. Oh my gosh, I cannot think of the guy's name. But yeah,
yeah.
I met him many years ago at a sushi bar down the road from where we live.
Okay.
And let's see. And then there's some Burnell Washburn, I think is pretty cool. He's kind of more of the laid back kind of vibe, the kind of stuff that you would hear from like Rhyme Sayers, but his own
Mm.
vibe.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't, and most of these guys I haven't talked to in years. These guys do their own thing. Uh, Dumb Luck, I've I've talked to him a couple times. He was pretty cool.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Other than that, like there is a scene here, but the problem is I feel like the skill level doesn't really match the reputation.
Mm.
And so because of that, it can really be seen in a negative light. Um, those guys I mentioned are pretty dope though. I think they do a pretty good job. Zach Ivy, I think, does a pretty good job too. He's toured with Master Ace,
Oh, cool.
and I think Master Ace was just on his record. So
Dope.
this is just stuff I watch from afar.
Yeah.
Nothing I'm like really paying attention to, but
Mm.
um stuff that I do see every now and then because
Mm.
I network with them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, from what I see, they're pretty dope artists. They do their own thing as like I do my own. My
Mm.
thing is just um I've always been the person to believe that it's really not about where you're from, it's about what you do and how you do it. Because you
Mm.
could be from like the middle of nowhere in North Dakota and be the best hip hop artist there is. Because I don't judge by the location you come from. I really judge you by your skill level.
Yeah.
And Salt Lake City definitely has talented hip hop artists and producers. I think the problem is it gets overshadowed by a lot of garbage at the same time.
Mm.
A lot of things, but that garbage can be seen as subjective.
Yeah.
Um, because my personal taste, may differ from someone else's personal taste. Like for me, I don't listen to trap music. I can't.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with it. And I think the reason I have a hard time with it is I feel like it just doesn't hit hard enough for me.
Yeah.
We
Well,
spent Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the drums that they usually use start to blend together and get like homogenous, and like the 808s and the triple the
Yeah. Yeah, where
like
they
yeah.
it just I don't know. I've tried working with 808s on some beats and I've made it sound good.
Mhm.
I'm biased, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I listen to so much good music outside of hip hop too, and I'm just like, man, where did we go? I don't expect everything to sound like Toto or
Mhm.
Journey or um Wu Tang, any of those like classic groups. I don't really expect things to sound like that, but at least put some effort in trying to be original. And
Yeah.
that's the problem I have is that most of these people, and it can happen in the underground too,
Mhm.
is most of these people try to sound the same. And I think part of that really stems from because some of these rappers, they listen to the same 10 artists
Yeah.
and won't listen to anything outside of that.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with listening to hip hop and being a hip hop artist because you got to be a fan first.
Mhm.
What I have a problem with really, or at least the problem with doing that is you may inadvertently say something that somebody already said. Because I find myself where I make a punchline and then I'm like, wait a minute, I may have heard this before.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
Marshall say it? Did Apathy say it? Did MF Doom say it? You know,
Yeah.
like who said it before? And sometimes I have to wrestle with that in my mind. And I'll even make a note by it's like with the question mark, like, does that work?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the excuse that I use to like try to make some of my bars like just super out of pocket and stuff that
Yeah, yeah.
people I try to say things that people don't say very often because they won't want to say it is what is my approach to it, at least personally.
Right.
Um
Mhm.
because I mean if I say something that someone else that most people aren't willing or comfortable with saying, then you know, I guess I beat them to it. But it doesn't work for that can't work for everybody. That's just my approach to it. But so you're not I mean, aside from like watching from the sidelines in your laboratory, you're not super plugged in with like the music scene around. You're not like involved other than the shows that you've been doing.
No, man. I'm really a person that just kind of does my own thing. Like when people start talking about like certain artists, like they'll mention Ice Spice or something like that. I'm like, who the frick is that? You know what I mean? Like
I
I
get
or
it.
like, yo, have you heard this person? I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here listening to Toto Africa. You guys are like, I mean, it might seem like I'm an old head. I mean,
Mm,
I just barely, I'm in my early 30s,
yeah.
so I'm not an old head, but at the same time, I'm like, there's some good new music, Yeah, I'll listen
Mm,
to Imagine Dragons with my wife.
mm,
I'll
yeah.
listen to, and I don't really like country music, but there's a couple songs that she'll listen to in the car and we'll
Yeah.
listen to it. I'm not that like completely out of whack, but
Yeah.
there's some things that like I don't know. I think the problem, I don't know, it's really just generational gaps.
I get it. I've had a younger artist on before that does a little bit more of like a popular style, and
Hmm.
or bringing up all these different like artists. They're like, oh, this person, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, I don't know who you're talking
Yeah.
about. I don't know any of these
Mm-mm.
people.
Yeah, and I'd say 90%. I used to follow like all these artists and underground artists, and I don't anymore
Mm,
because I think the one thing that kind of ruined it for me, um, because that I mix and master, and so I remember mixing and mastering for some artists that I grew up listening to,
Mhm.
And then you listen to the mixes you do, you listen to their other people's mixes, and there's songs and everything. And it's cool, but I don't know. This is kind of my way of seeing it. And it's kind of dismal, but it's like you eat at your favorite restaurant.
Mhm.
Okay. You love going there all the time. You love getting the same stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Then all of a sudden you get a job there. Like, is it really going to have the same magic
Yeah, I get that.
once you're working there? And that's the problem I'm having is it's not that it isn't the same magic. It's just the fact that, well, I've done this for so long. I've seen how
Mhm.
these things go. I'm not really wowed by a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just more like this is why I really focus on what I'm doing. I mean, I try to plug into, what other artists are doing so it doesn't make it seem like I'm egotistical or something.
Mhm.
It's just a more like I don't want to inadvertently copy someone. I don't want to sound
Yeah.
like I'm ignorant. I don't want to be any of those. I just want to be, the artist that I am and do what I'm doing and not be penalized for inadvertently copying someone or
I get that.
something like that. You know what I mean?
I get that. I did the exact same thing for a long time. I only just recently got back into this podcast kind of forced me getting back into really listening to people's music because I can't have someone on and then not know what they've been doing recently. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
I have to be up to date with everything that they've done and you know,
Yeah,
so it's forced me to kind of reopen that box, but it's kind of brought the magic back because there was a bit where music was starting to feel like a job. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
and kind of getting to talk to different artists and hear, their experiences, and we have so many, like, there's only a finite amount of experiences that you can have in the industry, and like there's different variations of what that might look like, but we all kind of go through very similar things as artists, and it's kind of um nice to know that I'm not alone in this fucking struggle.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many scam artists there are out there. I've been scammed by. Oh my gosh, I remember I mixed and mastered for a client years ago, and she was an artist based out of New York City,
Mhm.
and I mean, she scammed me, um, using a verified, or she used a telephone number in place of, or just some kind of fake number for a Western Union number. I've had another guy who was considered a hip hop legend, who I won't name, reach out to me, and he scammed me. I've had, well, I still don't know if it was him or not, because this other guy scammed Vinny, or scammed a producer that was trying to get him, RA, and Vinny Paz on a song for 2 grand. He took the
Mm.
2 grand and ran. I don't know if that was actually him though, because
Yeah.
I think the guy's profile was hacked at the time, because they'd go on and he would post all this stuff, making it seem like, oh, well, this guy's like, I'm a fake, blah, 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 blah. And fans were trying to defend him, saying, oh, well, he was hacked. And now
Yeah.
that I look at the messages, it's like, yeah, it was probably a hacker. But the thing is like, he's been in trouble with this kind of thing before. So I don't know if it was
Yeah, and I hear a lot.
him
I
or
mean,
not.
I don't like saying names, but I definitely from like different promoters and people who have bought or done work for like artwork for this person, like not getting paid for it or doing this and not getting, I've
Yeah.
seen so much of it out there, man.
Yeah. And I've had my own experiences. I had another one who I won't mention, but or yeah, he wanted me to mix and master his record. So I did that. I spent a whole summer doing it. And he hits me back saying that he didn't like it. And I said, well, I only have so much time because I'm going to be going to college here soon. And I told him to give me the references. He never did that. So we tried to make a dispute. And because of the way the world currency works, he actually took more money from me than he
Oh,
paid me.
wow.
Yeah. And it was ugly. There were things that I made my own mistakes there, but I can tell you there's some real scam artists out there. And,
Mhm.
I don't like scam. I don't want to scam people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I like to be genuine with people. I don't want to do things that would lose my trust or reputation with people.
Mhm.
So I really try to fix it. But some people, they're really just out there for themselves. They don't think twice before trying to ruin your image. And
Yeah.
that's another thing, is like after that one, I think that was the case that really had me kind of go into a recluse mode with at least mixing and mastering. And
Yeah.
so I'll do it very seldomly, you know,
Mhm.
because yeah. And the other thing is like recently I found out like some clients that I've had are actually facing time in prison
Oh.
for yeah. I was like, I mean, nothing that I was associated with. These guys were acting of their own accord and
Mhm.
doing things on the side. And I'm just like, I can't associate with people like that, man. Like, I'm trying to get my own name out here. I got a family here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's all gangster until you're behind those bars, man.
Yeah.
It's all gangster until you're behind those bars, man.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. After seeing like what people have gone through, that's the other thing. I had a homie of mine who I hung out with and actually rap battled and would rap alongside with,
Mhm.
who's now facing five, or who's now in prison, serving 5 to life and then 10 to life for killing an unarmed person at a gas station, or a
Oof.
gas station attendant. And I'm just like, that stuff's not worth it, man.
No,
It's not.
it's never worth it.
It's never worth it. There's people I used to hang out with that are dead now.
Mhm.
And that lifestyle, I was never in that lifestyle or anything, but the decisions you make, the paths you take can influence where you go.
Yeah.
And he was in the wrong place at the wrong time and made that act, and now he's got to pay for that.
Mhm.
And I have another guy who um that I knew that was a promoter, and he went to prison because of some serious sexual based charges. And I was like, no, dude, I can't do that. I can't
Yeah.
be around these kinds of people that are doing this really questionable stuff, because then it comes back to me. Like,
Yeah.
hey, now, I didn't know anything about this
Yeah.
stuff until
People start
after.
accusing you of knowing about it and hiding it or some shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Then they start saying, like, oh yeah, well, you actually knew about it. You were an accessory. You were this. You were that. I'm like, dude, shut
Yeah.
the frick up.
Yeah.
Seriously, I can't deal with these people, man. This
Yeah.
is this is why, let me tell you something, man. And I don't like giving advice, but man, sometimes it is nice to work alone. I was talking to Ixion Forum the other day, or
Mhm.
Carl Bang,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and I or yeah, I was talking to him a couple months ago, and the one question he asked me is like, so how does it feel like knowing that you own all of your own music? And I really thought about that, and I was like, man, that's actually a good feeling, because I don't have these other publishing companies or record companies or anything like
Mhm.
that owning my music.
Yeah. And you do your own
I mean,
production.
yeah,
Yeah. So.
I own it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's sample loops, there's all those kinds of things, but I'm really the kind of person that says use what you have at your discretion.
Yeah.
The problem is that you have so many artists around here that say, "Oh, well, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this." No, dude.
Mhm.
Break the rules.
Yeah.
That's not my
Definitely.
own idea. Hans Zimmer talked about that.
Mhm.
Break the rules for once. That doesn't mean like go out and rob a bank. It just means that, if someone says you got to do this,
Yeah.
maybe veer off and go do this.
Yeah. There are so many ways to like make a way in the in this game. I don't know if you want to call it game, the industry, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like nobody ever has the exact same success story. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
so there's
Yeah, you look at guys like LP,
mhm,
his label went under.
yeah.
And he, at that time, I mean, I don't know all the details, but from what I want know, that Definitive Jux went under,
Mm,
and he was in a bad position. But then time went on, he met Killer Mike,
yeah.
and then Run the Jewels took off. I
Yeah.
think that's incredible. And they were touring with M and Royce. I think that's so
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah. Run the Jewels blew up for sure.
Yeah, I enjoy Run the Jewels. I think they're
Yeah.
dope. I
Yeah,
think
same.
yeah, they make some pretty good vibes and pretty consistent too.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, music, man, it gets tiring. That's why I got to go do like Xbox or something like that, man. I can't.
Yeah. What
I
games you
can't.
been playing lately?
Oh man. So Destiny 2 is the real main. There's the main one that I do.
Okay.
I'm I'm hardcore in that.
All right, tell me about it. I've never played Destiny. If you're
So I'll explain the background of it. So Destiny 2 is a continuation of Destiny 1,
Mhm.
which was made back in 2000 and or published and released in 2014 by
Okay.
Bungie and Activision. And Bungie is the company that made Halo
Halo. Yeah.
and Marathon and all that. And um, I started. I first found out about it in 2013. I'm like, what is this? This is like really cool. 2014 hit. I started playing it. I started a clan. Um, we were like really tight knit. It was a group of friends, from real life and other
Mhm.
people online. And I led that clan for a few years. And times changed. A lot of my friends, they've moved on to other things. And I played with a few like hardcore players. Um, and what it was is it's really it's an MMO, but not quite.
Mhm.
So you'll have like activities like raids, and you'll have not like World of Warcraft raids, but you'll just have like 6 player based raids, and you have to like strategize. And most of the
Okay.
time, you want to have a mic to talk about the kinds of roles that you're doing.
Mhm.
Other times, you don't, especially nowadays, you don't really need a mic for certain things, but it's nice to have one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a looter shooter, like
Okay.
Borderlands a little bit. So I never got into Borderlands. I tried it, but it felt a little
Mhm.
clunky to me, and I didn't get it. I didn't jump in at the right time. So, but it's really enjoyable. I enjoy it a lot. But the game is reaching its, I guess you could say, quote unquote, penultimate phase of the story,
Mhm.
because about halfway through the game's 10-year journey, Activision split off.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, Activision was facing a lot of legal challenges. And I read some of the court docs
Mm.
from what had been going on. I don't know. Had you had a chance to look at
Is
that?
this regarding the Blizzard stuff or is it different?
Yeah, it was. I think it was Activision Blizzard. Like
Okay.
there was a lot of misogyny going on
Yeah,
in the
I
workplace.
remember when this was all going on. Yeah, this was like what?
Yeah, it really unethical practices going on, and
Yeah.
it's really questionable. People losing their jobs, getting fired. I don't know if there was any
Hmm.
criminal penalties, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And Bungie was at the sole discretion of owning uh, Destiny. I actually tried applying for a job there, but
Hmm.
I actually never got that because of through sound design.
Okay.
But I think they hired from within.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that the overall right now, or at least where it is from a community standpoint, is not in the best place right now. Um,
But
because there's
is it
been
on the decline or is it like toxic people or
well, my personal opinion is the community has been pretty toxic.
oh okay.
Destiny's community. I mean, there's some really good, genuine players out there that I've played with. I played with thousands of players, but that community is pretty toxic. Like you go on the forums on Bungie.net, you'll just see all
Yeah.
sorts of complaining and whining and just like people say, "Oh, I'm done with this game." Or like they complain about a $20 expansion upgrade or
Yeah.
$50 expansion upgrade. Or the biggest criticism was with Lightfall, the way that the story panned out, with it being in a penultimate phase of the story, because we're technically 9 years into Destiny now, and
Mm.
next year is going to be what they call the final shape.
Mm.
Um, that is supposed to be People were not happy with the way Lightfall's campaign ended. I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. I mean, it's not their greatest, but
Yeah.
I think people over dramatize things, and I think the main problem is that as much as the video game industry is booming, it's also suffering in ways that shouldn't be. Um, there's been more focus on the biggest criticism right now is microtransactions within games.
Yeah.
Um, it's not a pay to win in Destiny, but in other games like Call of Duty, it has been.
Yeah.
I know Battlefront 2 had a problem with that, but then they fixed it. The community is not really so prevalent on there now, but it's still like a fun game to play that you could still earn stuff in there. But yeah, the problem is you get people like little Timmy who takes his mom's credit card, charges it $400, and buys all these loot boxes and crates and stuff,
Yeah.
and gets the stuff before Tommy can, who
Yeah.
doesn't spend any money.
Yeah.
And that's been the big argument. And people would try to be like, oh, well, is this like softcore gambling? Well, I mean, there's the difference is with Destiny is depending on what you're getting, you're actually guaranteed what you're getting and what you're paying for. And you can all, but the problem is recently there's been some things exclusively like shaders for armors and stuff that you can only get with real money, which can be a problem.
Yeah.
So, but I do enjoy the game. It's, I do a lot of like solo based stuff. There's been some really cool feats that I've done over the course of several years. It's not something I really talk about because there's some MCs that, you know, they go out there and all they do is play video games. They're not like playing or they're not working on music. I'm definitely working on music. It may seem like I haven't, but the problem is that I've got so much material that it's like, where do I put the start? Where do I put the finish on it?
Yeah.
So, but rest assured, you know, MX Machina is coming. I was hoping for this year, but with the birth of my daughter, that's kind of put an offset on things, for sure.
Naturally.
And then, Destiny is a lot of fun though. I introduced my wife to it and we play.
That's cool.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with that, and I've taken her through some hard content, and I got to tell you, she's like better than 90% of that community. I'm not just gassing her up too, just because she's my wife. No, like she's actually pretty good. Like we'll go through and do activities with another friend of mine who's actually really good, and he, like all three of us will go do activities, and none of us will die, and we'll get triumphs and all those kinds of things for it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. The last like game that I played that was like that, it was an MMO. It was Elder Scrolls Online. And man, I eventually just had to quit that game because the player base was just so toxic, man. And
I know.
Did you ever play it?
I never got into like Elder Scrolls or Skyrim or anything like that. I only know from what people have told me.
Oh man,
Destiny has really been that, and I used to be really big in like Halo, but when Halo Infinite launched, I got to tell you, the multiplayer is just disappointing. I played competitive Halo 5. I would get in tournaments locally, and do well. But then when it came time for Halo Infinite, for me, it just, I don't know what it is. Like it just, that multiplayer feels really skeletal. I love the campaign. The story and everything has been great. But the multiplayer, however, I hardly know anybody, at least in my own social circle of friends and everything, who actually plays that game, or at least just for the multiplayer. Because the multiplayer suffers a great deal.
That sucks, man.
And that community's been, because you heard about a lot of the stuff that happened.
Yeah. Well, wait
for Microsoft.
I haven't actually.
So to summarize it, Microsoft laid off 10,000 employees.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was really bad, and a part of them were Bethesda. The other part was 343 Industries, who owns Halo.
Yeah.
And that took, and because of all the backlash that Halo Infinite got, considering it was like probably the most expensive video game they've ever made, it's like $1 billion budget.
Jesus.
Yeah. Bonnie Ross left 343. I think Kiki Wolfkill did, a bunch of other like leading people. I know Joseph Staten did, and Joseph Staten was one of the original people from Bungie who worked on the older Halo games. And he was the directing lead, and he left. And it hasn't been good.
Wow.
But there's still, it's really bad. I think the big problem is that, see, Halo 5, and I understood it at the time, they were focused so much on the power of the Xbox and graphics that the core component of Halo has always been couch co-op, being able to do a 4-player split screen multiplayer game.
Yeah.
And doing LAN parties. I love those.
Yeah. Grew up on those all the time, man.
Yes. Yes. It's classic. I've done it with my friends. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you don't have that with Halo 5. And that was a problem. But it was something I could manage. Halo Infinite comes around. They're like, oh, well, this is what they said. We're going to launch couch co-op soon. That never happened. They wanted to take their assets and they moved them towards doing whatever assets they wanted to build in the game. And they have a video of Joseph Staten saying this. They wanted to invest their assets into other parts of Halo Infinite, and they canceled couch co-op entirely for Halo Infinite.
Wow.
And I wasn't happy about that. No. I was not like, I get that this game requires a lot of power to uphold, and I'm not a coder. I'm not telling people how to do their job. But what was interesting about that, and you can go online and see this on YouTube, there are people who figured out some kind of glitch or mechanism that made it possible for them to do split screen co-op in the Halo Infinite campaign. Just a bunch of jokers figured this out, but a multi-billion-dollar company can't do this. So we're sitting around laughing about this.
Yeah, I think, and this is my theory, I think if they don't do it, then they get to sell more copies of the game. More people have to buy it and not just go over to a friend's house and play it.
Oh, I agree. I don't disagree with that. You know, the Elite controllers that they have, I use those when I play competitively on Destiny. I can't tell you how many of those I've gone through. And I don't like, my wife will tell you I rage during those matches. But let me tell you, I don't throw controllers. I don't do anything. And within 6 to 8 months, probably not even that, those controllers go out.
Yeah.
They're cheap.
Just heavy playing, yeah.
Yeah, just heavy playing of Crucible, which is their multiplayer mode. You go through those controllers so much, you have so much movement in mechanics that it runs down so quickly that you have to get a new controller.
Ugh. And they're like, they're like $60 a controller or something like that.
Oh, right? They're like 3 times that.
Oh,
they're
my.
like they're $200.
Really?
And it's not cool.
Wow.
It's not fun, because playing on a normal Xbox controller, like, that's cool, but if you want that competitive edge, just to get the extra punch when you're trying to go in combat against the enemy team, and boosting and jumping and whatnot, like, it's nice to have those back paddles, and it's nice to have that movement speed. Of course, I'll have people from PC go like, "Oh, you need to go with the PC." Like, I'm not rich like that, man. I'm not rich, period. You know, I'm a normal everyday person that makes hip hop music, and when I'm not doing that or not with my family, I'm playing games.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I need that release. I need that break. I'm not
I get it.
addicted to anything else. You know?
Yeah. I'm now that I have this camera set up, I'm thinking about getting back into games for streaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you're the second person I've had on to talk about games stuff at all,
Mhm.
and I'm just trying to figure out what the right game would be because. But
Yeah,
I'm also stuck on a Mac, so my options are limited anyway. So
yeah. I'd say the only one, and hopefully it does well because I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I hope Starfield does well. I think Starfield has a lot of potential if it does
is that
if
the
it's executed right.
new which one's Starfield again?
So Starfield is a new RPG by Bethesda,
Okay.
and it's similar to No Man's Sky, except for
Oh, okay.
there's only so many. They have like 1,000-ish planets that you can go and explore and colonize, and
Yeah.
it's a single player game, which I guess is a good thing because that way I don't have to worry about all the jerks that I see online trying to get
Yeah.
uh that
Um.
exotic gun from a raid that's exclusive there and have to run it 50,000
Mhm.
times.
I mean, if you
It's
really wanted to, you could just play Star Citizen for the next 30 years while they try to finish it.
yeah, I hear that game looks really good,
No, I
but
play
I
I
don't have a PC to run
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I've played it a couple times at my friend's house, and like it's
Mhm.
come a long way, but it's still like so far away from being finished.
Yeah, and what are some other games? VR is cool. I don't own a VR, but we have a close friend of ours that owns it. And have you ever tried Half-Life Alex before?
I haven't.
So it's not the Half-Life 3 confirmed because we all know
Okay.
what happened about that.
Yeah.
But Valve made an extension of Half-Life
Hmm.
called Half-Life Alex, and um it's about that character Alex from the main Half-Life games, and
Okay.
it splits off from the story. It's like a side story, but it's a scary VR game.
Mm.
Like it's you know you've got all the bad guys that you fight, and of course there's more like these zombified uh characters, or not characters but like creatures that have been assimilated, and you have to go through this entire post-apocalyptic city just like Half-Life is, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. Not
Yeah.
as terrifying as Alien Isolation though. I love
Oh,
that game.
that one was so much fun.
I love Alien Isolation. I've had the privilege of beating that on Nightmare a few times,
Wow.
and it's because the first time I got it, I was like, man, this is too scary. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But then I eased my way into it,
Mm.
really figured out all the little kinks, and
Yeah.
that xenomorph is the worst
Oh,
because
it's I remember when I first started playing it, I accidentally left the thing on the it just was automatically on the thing where the controller listens to you like breathing and making noise, and
yeah,
I left it on and I kept like screaming and stuff. I was like, why does it keep finding me?
yeah. I have a funny story about that. My friends and I would get together at my house,
Mhm.
and we were all gathered around, and I'm playing Alien Isolation in front of them, and it's dark. And
Yeah.
this is when the Kinect was the thing at the time before it went out.
Mm.
And the Kinect, well, Alien Isolation, if you play it on the Xbox, has a sensor where it's like, do you want the Kinect on or off? So that means that if you hear any kind of noise or anything, the alien can hear you, even if you're in a
Yeah, yeah.
locker or something. My friend had to go to the bathroom. And so he gets up. I'm sitting in a locker trying to avoid the alien. We're all silent.
Yeah.
He walks by, farts in front of the mic. The alien finds me, rips me out of the locker, and kills me. We joke about this to this day. We joke about this to this day.
That's so funny. Yeah, that would happen to me all the time with with the controller because the PlayStation didn't have a Connect, the PS4, but the controller had a microphone on it. So like if you talk, the controller would pick it up, and when I play games, I'm like really vocal, and I'm just like the
Yeah.
anxiety levels go up, and I couldn't get past like the first level for hours because I didn't realize that the controller was picking up my voice. So
Yeah. one of these times, if I do Alien Isolation again on Nightmare, I'll stream it
Mm.
so everybody can watch it. But it's pretty
Mm.
brutal.
Yeah.
So what makes it brutal is in the game you can craft like Molotovs and EMPs.
Mm.
You just craft all types of weapons that lead to your survival. And the problem is you get significantly less items. So you could search all the cupboards, all the drawers. You won't find anything. Or you will, like, it's very difficult to come by necessary items for you to make a shot for yourself when you need to heal, or
Mm.
a dynamite stick, etc., etc. You'll need to find all these items. And, but I've figured out, even as random as it is, I've figured out like the places to go
Mm.
and where to hide in that game, when to go, when not to go, because
Yeah.
he can be pretty unpredictable. Because what makes it really difficult, at least on uh nightmare mode, is that his uh awareness is heightened like to the highest level.
Yeah.
So you could be in a locker, he'll go up to it and sniff it, and you have to hold your breath, and all of a sudden you can see you're choking to hold your breath in,
Mm.
and you will take damage, and you will not see what kind of damage you take. You pretty much have to guess where you're at.
Mm.
It's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never played it on nightmare mode. That sounds intense.
Yeah, and I started because I never grew up on it, but I did start playing Dead Space, the new one.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that one's terrifying.
Yeah, I played the first one. My brother had that one, so
Hmm.
yeah, I played it a handful of times. That one's really fun.
Yeah, that one's really terrifying.
Hmm.
I haven't played the other one, but I watched Markiplier do the first 2 or 3 hours of Callisto Protocol.
Okay.
That one's pretty terrifying too.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love horror games. I grew up
Yeah,
on like Turok 2, The Thing, The Suffering.
yeah. See, I
Uh,
was never a horror. I never got into like horror or anything.
yeah,
But my thing is like my wife and I were big into Alien
yeah,
and Predator, and
yeah,
so we'll because the first two movies are classic.
yeah. Perfect, perfect
Yeah.
films.
Oh yeah, no question.
Hmm.
But the third one was really weird. Number four, if
Yeah,
if
well, I
she
don't. We
came out
don't.
now and told you, she would tell you that Alien Resurrection is probably one of the worst films she's ever seen.
It's really bad, especially when
it's
you
ex-
compare it to the
it's
first two.
really weird.
Yeah,
I mean, I like it, but I can see why she does it. And then I know she doesn't like Prometheus. She liked Alien Covenant, but yeah,
Prometheus was also kind of strange. I don't know. The first two are the only ones that I really recognize. The other ones, uh, I've watched, and I remember I had the quadrilogy box set back in the day, and I used to
oh
watch it
yeah,
all the time. But
hmm,
yeah, the fourth one never made sense to
yeah. The fourth one was so weird
me. Yeah.
because you have that scene where like they're in that room and she's playing basketball.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and what was so funny about that is if you watch it again, she makes the shot and she didn't plan on it or anything. I mean, I think that's what they were going for, but
Mm.
or she was just trying to like shoot it backwards. They cut that scene so quick because everybody started laughing. They couldn't contain themselves for her doing that, and I don't think it was planned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny,
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a rough one for sure. I don't even know why they went in that direction with it, but
it's it's so weird. Like even number three
yeah.
was num I'm still trying to understand number three.
Well,
Like at least the setting. You would think that it was going to be like anywhere else, but then they had to go to a prison planet with all these monks who are serving like near life sentences
not
for
just that,
previous
but like
crimes.
them kind of killing off Newt and stuff. Like the whole character arc between Ripley and Newt at the end of
Mhm.
Alien 2 was just perfect, but
Yeah, Alien and Aliens are
yeah.
just iconic cinematic masterpieces.
Hmm.
They have we met a guy at FanX. It's like Comic-Con here, but for Salt Lake City.
Okay.
We met a guy who actually did the promotional artwork or the first teaser theatrical poster for Aliens, and he
Yeah.
gave us a copy of it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he told us like Sigourney pretty much gave the sign off on his artwork, or like picked it out.
Mm.
Because 20th Century Fox was like, "Hey, we need a poster," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I can do something like that." So we got this really cool poster that,
Yeah.
with Bill Paxton and
That's
all
awesome.
those guys on it. Yeah, and I've had the privilege of also meeting Michael Bain. Michael
Mm.
Bain plays Corporal Hicks,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you don't really see him in a lot of stuff anymore, and because he told us that he quit acting. But the only recent thing that I saw him in was I don't know if you've seen it, but he was in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
was, so he plays one of the guards in that city, um and has like a kind of a draw between him and Mando.
Okay. Yeah, I
It
remember.
it was the episode where Ahsoka shows up.
Yeah, 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 I do remember that episode. Yeah.
Hmm.
That was a good episode actually. That
Yeah, I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I love The Mandalorian. I think it's a
Yeah.
fantastic show. Like that's like pinnacle Star Wars for me.
Yeah, I do think the Mandalorian is great. I was I didn't like the third season as much.
That's
But
fair.
like, and it's my problem is and this is what I'm starting to think it is. I think that the writers slowly over the years have been getting paid less and less since, I mean, hence they're on strike right now. But
Right.
they've just cared less and less in the writing room because they're not getting paid. Like their residuals and stuff like that are so low for everything that they're just like, and their time frames to finish stuff are just so short that they're just throwing whatever, and just to please the mouse, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I don't really think it's
absolutely.
their fault. I don't really think it's anybody involved with the show's fault. I think it's all corporate BS that's really rushing things.
Oh, absolutely. Like you
Mm-hmm.
look, like the reason, like you look at different films over the years, especially like late 90s, early 2000s with like really bad CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is it's not really the studios that did the CGI themselves. It's the fact that you had corporate telling them, we need it by this date. We
Yeah.
need it by this date.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't get it by this day, you're gone,
Yeah.
etc. So these companies would do everything that they could to push these films. And you probably saw what I was talking about recently, like because George Lucas said this is the problem nowadays with films is they're trying to meet a quota.
Mm-hmm.
These companies are trying to meet a quota for like, oh yeah, we need to gross like 1 billion, 2 billion. Man, we got to let's see if we can be Avatar, man. We can do it.
Yeah.
That's their whole focus,
Mm-hmm.
rather than let's make a good story.
Yeah.
Let's make characters that make sense. Let's have a good setting that makes sense. Let's make something that's original.
Yeah.
Let's like they don't put these questions in mind
Mm-hmm.
because they're only cared about what money that they can make and then cycle and allocate, and that's hurting the film industry.
Yeah.
And I think that that's unfortunately happened with a lot of even my own favorite films and shows nowadays, is that they suffer from the same corporate
Yeah.
BS that
A
you
lot
see.
of them do. And one of the guys that worked on the animation for the Flash movie, the one that just
Mm,
came out, he went on TikTok and said that like all of these like superhero movies, and the reason why the CGI is declining so bad is because of these issues. And they
mm.
don't have unions, so they don't strike. So they just, they're all third party like hires. So it's just a shame because we all grew up on some of these IPs. And
Right.
another thing that I heard recently, which is a shame, the Paramount Animation Studio has announced that they're no longer doing any original IP. They're only going to be doing pre-existing IP movies from here on out.
That's too
Which,
bad.
yeah, it's a shame because who knows if other studios are going to say, well, like Disney for instance, they tried a couple original movies this last year and they've had a lot of flops. So who knows if they're going to say, well, let's only do pre-existing IPs from now on that do really really well. Are we going to stop
Right.
seeing that animation is the animation renaissance completely over and done, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
who knows?
Yeah, because in some of the newer Disney films I've seen recently, like some of them were not that good.
I've
And
heard.
that's like Peter Pan was
I've heard.
yeah, it was not good.
Mhm.
At least from my perspective. And then and it was, I know because when my wife and I were watching it, she was like playing on her phone.
Yeah.
she she didn't have an enjoyable time. But again, this goes back to the fact. But then yesterday, we watched Back to the Future
Mhm.
because Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox are coming here in September.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, we're planning on meeting them. I mean, if they're still up to doing it.
Mhm. Are
Um,
they coming out for a
but
convention or?
yeah, they're coming out for FanX. So FanX
Okay.
happens every September here.
Mm.
They do it annually. Um, and it's a really cool event. I've had the privilege just through that event of meeting a lot of famous acts and talking to them and kind of getting some backstories. So and there's some really cool stories.
Yeah.
I could go on all day about these.
Okay.
Or about the time where my friends and I we go to this bar called Lucky 13. It's
Okay.
probably my you probably have seen me talk about it, but it's my favorite burger joint, like anywhere, like
Mhm.
at least in the state of Utah.
Okay.
And Michael Rooker walked in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we had met him hours before, but of course, him being in like a lot of shows, movies, etc.
Mhm.
He walked in with his handler, and he sat at a table next to us, and he comes over and talks to us. We get a picture with him. I mean, we weren't forward or anything. He actually came and talked to us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he was really down to earth. He's one of those guys that um you, you have those like real celebrity experiences um or moments where you meet real cool people, and even if they're there for the money, like some people seemed really genuine more than others.
Yeah.
He was definitely one of those people for me.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and uh my favorite part about that night is like after he was done, he's like he looks at it and he's like, you know, I like you guys. He says that, and then so then when he does, like, this is how I say I love you, and then he flips us off. So he's got that picture floating around somewhere in his phone.
Mhm.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I'm probably the only one of my friends that wasn't flipping off the camera, but everyone else
Yeah,
in
yeah,
my
yeah.
pack was. But it was a lot of fun. Um, let's see who else was really good. Um I've met Chuck Norris. I'm surprised my hand is still
Okay.
here. um, oh man, there's so many people.
Yeah.
Um I've met people from I've met Richard Dean Anderson from Stargate,
Oh, cool.
Christopher Judge from God of War and Stargate.
Oh, cool.
Um, I've had privilege of also meeting Sean Astin. Um, who else? Lou Ferrigno. He's an interesting guy. Yeah, there's been so
Yeah.
many people that have come and gone through that convention over the
Mhm.
years. Um, and some people were really interesting to meet. Although he was nice to me, I did wit. You may have seen the story. I do remember seeing Danny Glover almost go full Lethal Weapon on a guy, but I found out later that he was drunk.
Ah,
But
yeah.
he went off on this guy. I think he was telling him that there was some kind of problem or something like that, and Danny Glover was not having it.
Mm.
And he was just yelling through the convention. It looked like that scene from Angels in the Outfield where he gets on that team, his team for losing. It was pretty bad. I was like, I never
Yeah.
thought I would be seeing this happen in real life, but
Wow.
no. Um, I'm probably one of the only people who ever shook Will Wheaton's hand because after that he was kind of like,
Mm.
he's like one of those people like Howie Mandel, but I don't blame him considering that we're kind of on the lower end bell curve or however people want to say it of the pandemic and people do less
Yeah,
handshaking.
yeah. I get that.
Yeah. Um oh man. Yeah, there's it's a fun experience though, and
Hmm.
I get to go every year. We're going to be going to meet them. They've got a lot of cool people coming. So Katie Sackhoff will be there, and from Mandalorian.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, lots of cool acts.
Yeah.
But so how long have you been doing Meister Menagerie?
Uh, since officially the first episode dropped March last year,
Okay,
and I do
nice,
it 2 episodes a month.
nice.
Yes, this will
What
be
made you get into like the whole podcasting?
originally in 2018, um, I was doing some work with the when I was living in Ventura, I was doing work with the local radio station, and
Okay,
I was going to do a radio show at first, but there was time constraints, and then the all the I mean, I have a sailor's mouth, man, and the I cannot risk getting a $10,000 fee from the FCC. You know what I mean? So like, because that's like, if you say the F word on radio, that's like potentially up to $10,000 fines. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah.
I I don't know, but that's when I coined the name the Meister Menagerie, and I had I started coming up with the idea, and then some I shelved it for a little bit, and then I was doing a web series called Mail Day with my buddy, who's also a rapper named Hans, where we were
Hmm.
sitting together and we would review products, mostly alcohol, but we'd also do like movie reviews, and we would also do like hot, like spicy food challenges and stuff like that. So we had like we I think we officially released 9 episodes, but we had like 12 done and ready to go. But then schedule conflicts and creative idea conflicts and stuff like that are starting to take place. Plus, dropping a 10 to 20 minute video episode every week was starting to like really weigh on me because of all the editing I'd have to
Hmm.
do, plus work, and then my girlfriend at the time really needed attention and stuff, like
Right, right.
other life responsibilities kept me from, if I was making money on it, I could have focused on it more, but pulled in too many
Mm.
directions. So I dropped the video idea, and I said, well, what if I come back and do bring back my show, and I do a web show for the Meister Menagerie instead of a radio show. And I started playing with some ideas for that, and started coming up with stuff. And then I ended up moving out here to LA, and I was like, okay, well, video is too much work for me right now. I'm just going to start small and just do audio. So that's where the podcast was born. And
Oh,
now,
nice.
yeah, now I kind of have it all wrangled and under control, and I have like a workflow. So now I'm slowly adding video to it, starting with because the episodes run kind of long, and I break it up into different sections, as my guests know. The first half of the episode is me monologuing, usually doing movie reviews, or I'll talk about topical subjects
Right.
regarding entertainment. Mostly, it's mostly an entertainment based show. And then
Yeah.
the second half is interview. So I'm just doing the video with the interview parts right now, because that's the easiest. Because Zoom does the editing for me. Like when you
Oh,
start
that's
talking,
cool.
yeah, when you start talking, it cuts to you, and then when I start talking, it'll cut to me, and yeah. So
Yeah, I hardly use Zoom that often. I've only used it for like a couple meetings, and
yeah.
that's it. But no, yeah, that's really dope, man, that you've been doing that. Good for you.
Thank you
Because
very much.
yeah, that's really dope, man. Props. Because yeah, trying to get and I feel you on the whole like getting things out the ground and
Mm-hmm.
creative differences. Because that's the other thing, and I haven't really talked about this, but um if you remember Sons of Chaos, and I'll talk about that for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yeah,
so
I had a couple more. I know we're talking for a long time, but I do have a couple
no,
more
that's
questions
fine.
for you. Yeah.
That's totally fine. I got plenty of time.
Okay, cool.
Um so yeah, Sons of Chaos. So Anirudh Kanan, or Six Element, um
Mm-hmm.
he we had networked for some time, and we got along. I think the problem was is like you said with your friend or whoever you were networking with, it's really the creative difference.
Mm-hmm.
Sons of Chaos, we had done. So I had come up with the Pneumo EP. I call it that for short, just because of I wanted to get people's attention through that long name. And I kind of got that idea from Jedi Mind Trick's first record, because he named it after that book from, was it Valdemar Valerian?
Mm.
And what was it? The psychosocial, chemical, biological, and electromagnetic manipulation of human consciousness.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
mouthful. Yeah.
yeah.
So I was like, well, he did that, from a book. Why don't I just take a word and do
Yeah.
that? We got several hundred downloads on it. It seemed to resonate with people, even though I still had that gravelly chaos, chaos. What is it really?
I mean, it was a dope record for sure, man.
Oh yeah, a lot of people love what's chaos,
Mm.
in ways that even I don't understand. Um, or there's other songs that I haven't really heard or talked about in a long time. What was it? Not Your Average Psychopath.
Mm.
Um, I remember having hecklers saying like, well, this guy comes from a middle class family and uh he's talking about being a son of chaos and blah blah blah. He doesn't know what chaos is, blah. I'm just like, bro, this is freaking music. Like, don't take
Yeah.
things so literally, man. Like, this is. Do you think rappers are all out to get you, homie? Like, do you think we're all trying to start warfare and revolution and rising
Mhm.
up and all that stuff? Like, you afraid of Skynet Part 2, homie? Like, what's going on, man? No, but Sons of Chaos, um, my thing was, and Birth of Destruction was supposed to be this album that we were working on, and uh we were trying to get people for features on it. We almost did a song with Gavlin,
Oh, cool.
but that, yeah, I never actually talked to her, but we were trying to do a song with her. I think she's dope.
Yeah, she's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
seems super
Yeah.
cool,
I opened
and I
up for
like
her
her
back
vibe.
in like I opened up for her back in like 2014 out in Santa Barbara.
Oh,
So
that's dope.
yeah, she's cool
Yeah,
people.
we almost did a song with her. That never happened. um I have some collaborations I've almost done that have never happened. I almost did one with Vast Air and
Mm.
self-titled, but
Oh,
those never came to be. Um,
it happens. Yeah.
yeah, there's always. I almost did one with Bizarre from D12.
That would have
that
been
would
funny.
that would have been really funny. I
Yeah.
like just my vibe with his vibe. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, right.
It's all love for D12. I love D12.
Yeah,
They're great.
for sure.
Um, and with Sons of Chaos, we tried working on Birth of Destruction, but the thing was, is I felt like a lot of the beats were just sounding the same.
Hmm.
I mean, there were some beats that were good, better than others, and some I just wasn't feeling. And he wanted me to write, certain concepts. He wanted me to write this about this and this about this, and I was like, man, I just want to write and do what I feel like I need to do, you
Hmm.
know. And so I think the real challenge, though, um, and I'll get into shadow people with here
That was one
quickly,
of the
is this.
questions I wanted to ask about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the real deal about what happened with all that. But
Okay.
with Sons of Chaos, the thing is he's 16 hours ahead of me.
Where's he
So by the
from?
time Chennai, India,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So by the time he's going to sleep, I'm waking up. And by the time
Hmm.
I'm going to sleep, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
waking up, he's going to sleep, vice versa.
Yeah.
It's
Makes it
so I,
difficult to communicate. Yeah.
yeah, there was just, it was really hard, and it was nothing personal against him. I think he still does this thing. I don't really know what's happened to him. I haven't talked to him in years,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And there was never any beef. There was never any like animosity towards him. It's just that I think creatively we just had that fallout. And yeah, we made Sons of Chaos EP, and it's free to the public. People can download it if they want, or they can hear it on Spotify. Um, I decided to put it on there just because it's a popular platform.
Hmm.
But that's really the only places that you can get it. I think I think you can get it on there, but
Didn't they shut down? I thought that Piff got.
oh,
I
I
thought they
think you're
shut.
right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they did shut down. I'm not sure,
I think it was super
or maybe it was a
recently.
spoof. Yeah, I think you're right. It was like 2 or 3 months ago
Yeah, I think yeah,
that
very
happened.
super recently they just shut the website down.
Yeah, but I know it was on there for a time, and we had a lot of
Mm.
downloads. And at the time, there was a site called Vibe Deck, and I put it on there, and I would get download after download after download of
Okay.
people getting the project, and it seemed to resonate well with people. And we
Hmm.
get just like doing that shameless self promotion, put it in people, spamming it in people's groups. I was that guy. I was putting it up
I did
there.
the groups also all the time. I would join like
Mm.
150 hip hop groups, and every time I dropped a song, I just
Ah,
spam it there, and
you're
you
right.
know,
Just spam the same
yeah,
capital letter message. Just send it out there.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I've grown from that.
yeah.
And same with Quantum Chaotica. But with
Mhm.
Shadow People, I'll explain what really happened with Shadow People.
Okay.
So in Shadows We Trust was, a lot of people compared us to Army of the Pharaohs.
Hmm.
Wu-Tang, Army of the Pharaohs, and they, as being like this underground supergroup that had hard-hitting lyrics. The thing is that most of the guys were based on the East Coast.
Hmm.
They could get together easily. I know Prime and Rich, they're all from like New Jersey. Dane's out from North Carolina. Ixon is from New York. Yeah, the soloist from New York. You had all these guys out in the East Coast.
Hmm.
They could get together no problem when they wanted to do music videos. The only ones that really couldn't do that were me and Darren G. Darren
Okay.
G, I like big ups to him. Like that's my dude. He was in Team Punks as well, along with
Yeah.
Shadow People.
Yeah. He was from San
And
Diego, wasn't he?
yeah, he's from San
Yeah.
Diego. And he he's been doing pretty good. He's been doing his own thing. And I want to make it clear that there's no animosity between me and like any of the members of the groups or anything. Like I'm still cool with Absolute Carnage.
Yeah.
Um all those guys, even if I haven't really talked to them in a while. The main problem is that, and not pointing or blaming or anything, the problem is that it was hard to do a supergroup through the internet. It's really hard to. We had a group where we would just try to be like, okay, you guys need to send your verses, you guys need to do this, blah blah blah, get these things to verbal, get these things to Dane. And some of us wanted to release the record and sell it. Others wanted to release it for free. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure there's websites out there that do it for free.
Yeah.
But the problem was with any supergroup, and I know AOTP had this problem, was who's getting all this money.
Yeah. It's got to go
And
to
from
someone's bank account. Yeah.
yeah, it does. And that was the same thing with Team Punks. Like we had it was all cycling back. Like I was handling the finances. We weren't making very much money, but I was handling that. But Punks took the money.
Mm.
Unfortunately, he was in a bad spot in life. And unfortunately he and I had a fallout.
Mm.
It didn't really pan out well. That's the real truth of it. Like Hellraiser joined from Killer Bees and or through Ghetto Government, and some of the guys had a problem with that.
Oh.
And they wanted to Punks and Reza wanted to go and do this here. These other guys wanted to go do this, and that's what kind of led to the end of Team Punks. And with Shadow People, that's what kind of led to the end of Shadow People. And now Dane
Mm.
is in the Air Force now.
Yeah. I see that. I'm still friends with
Mm.
him on Facebook, so I see whenever
Yeah,
he's.
and I'll restructure. Yeah, a lot of the beats that you've heard or songs that you've done for him, like I've restructured the beats for him.
Okay.
I've done, yeah, I do a lot of the restructuring, just like adding bars or segments for him, so he could do a lot of the songs that he has done.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's all love for him. I
Yeah.
don't. Again, there's no animosity towards him. It's just that doing super groups online was not for me.
Yeah. It's
It
hard.
was it's really hard. And then I try to do the thing with Father Focus Confucius
Yeah.
or Jesse, and with Immortals. And we
Mm.
were trying to get that off the ground, but that unfortunately didn't go anywhere either.
Yeah.
So that's 4 groups that I've done. I'm kind of grouped out into just doing my solo work. And again, it's all love for them. It's just right now I'm focused on me
Yeah.
and my sanity. I'm willing to collaborate with people. My thing is just that I've been in those collaborative situations before. I know how they work.
Mhm.
If people are willing to put in that work and do it. And I'm not saying that nobody in any of the groups I didn't do work.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of that there were problems with, we were trying to figure out how to do it financially, but some people were more concerned about the exposure than the money.
Mhm.
But sometimes you paradoxically need that money to do the exposure in a market like this.
Yeah.
And I once 2015-ish hit, I wanted to take a hiatus
Mm.
because I needed a break from all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah, it was really stressful. It was something I couldn't handle mentally at the time. I was doing all these songs and I wanted to do something different. And so someone had suggested the idea to me, well, why don't you just, come out? I want to hear like what Marcanum is doing. And I thought about that and I was like, man, there's got to be something I can do to really make that happen. And other projects and everything, other things that I had done just didn't really go through, or I wasn't really feeling them at the time. I have a lot of songs just in the vault. It's just a matter of like, is it going to sound good? Because I don't want to put out bull crap for people. I think the
Yeah.
world has been cluttered enough with bull crap. But at the same time, I also don't want to make it seem like, oh, he's just all talk and no show.
Mhm.
He's just, always makes all these empty promises. He's doing all these things and nothing to show for it. No, I have a lot of stuff in the vault. It's just that I'm picking when to put it out
Smart. Yeah.
because I have, just for MX Machina alone, I have made, last I checked, I made like over, and even if they're not recorded, like I still have like so many beats of well over 30 plus beats
Oh wow.
just for that record alone. And also doing like other things for it.
Are you gonna do that many songs, or are you gonna cut it down to like the best
Oh,
one?
it's gonna be cut down. It's
Okay.
more about like things that I've worked on over the years, but I've wanted to really transform it into something that's even better than it was yesterday.
Okay.
But the biggest, I think from an artist standpoint, again, the biggest thing that I struggle with is knowing where to start the tape and knowing where to cut it. But right now I've had a grasp of, okay, this is how I want to start it. Now, how am I going to finish it? And how am I going to get this going? I mean, it will either be really good or it will flop. And if it flops, then I move on to the next one,
Yeah.
But, no way of knowing what kind of response that people will have for MX Machina. But I hope it's and more positive than negative. Any
Oh.
artist wants that, because people are pretty brutal. I would look at, I just use him for an example. There's a website called
Yeah.
rateyourmusic.com, and I would just look to see like what kinds of trolls and online experts would go to look at Eminem's records and see what they would say about him for someone who spends all this time, that's all he does is just making songs, which is cool, and releasing them to the public. And people are pretty harsh.
Oh
People are
yeah.
really harsh. They're really harsh. Like I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's the water they drink, the food they eat, the lives they live, to make them that upset that Eminem makes these songs and they get so upset by it. I mean, that could be with anything. I mean, there's things that I don't like, but to
Yeah.
go on there and make an online essay about why you don't like a song. Like, come on, you've got to have more time than that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I get that completely. And whenever I drop music, I get this feeling like I do get a little self-conscious about whether people or not are gonna like it. But then
Absolutely.
I also remember some of the best artists out there, like you just said, Eminem. People will go out and write essays about how much they hate the new album or whatever, and it's like
Yeah,
you can't please everybody, and you're
you
always gonna
can.
there's always there are gonna people that are gonna be pissed off at it or hate it or whatever.
Yeah, they're gonna say, "Oh, he's trash. Oh, he's this. He's just, he's making these dumb bars again. Or they'll do the same thing with like AOTP. They'll do that.
Hmm.
They'll say, "Oh yeah, it's just more of this crap again. Then he passes on his stuff again." Or and I'm not trying to that's the thing. I hate the term white rappers.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that's diet racism to the T, man. Like, I don't really know why it needs to be associated. I always judge by skill. I
yeah,
don't think it's really people who try to put a label on it. I think is what's really hurting the culture.
I agree with that. And when people rap like Mac Miller or something like that,
Yeah,
they don't make that same association of him being white. You know what I mean? Like it seems to
right.
only happen when someone's white and lyrical. You know
I
what I mean?
know. Like, I can't tell you how many times like I've been compared to Eminem, and people say, "Well, that's a compliment," but on the same time, it's like,
Uh,
I'm trying to do my own thing, man.
yeah, I also
I'm
feel
trying to
like
do
there.
my own thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love Marshall. I
Mhm,
love his music, but I don't want to be compared to him
yeah,
like every step of the way of
yeah,
my career, whether I make it or not. Like, I want to be seen as Marcanum X. I don't want to be seen as Eminem.
yeah,
I want to have my own image. Like, the fact that these people think that they can just walk all over me is ridiculous. And I
yeah.
think he makes a good point in one of his interviews too. Like, and I may not be the same, at least to his level, but he's like, you guys get to say everything about me. Well, I get to say everything about you now. And
Hmm.
the thing is a lot of these critics, they don't know how to make a song. They don't
Right.
know how to they don't know what it's like to sit there searching through 500 snares and pick the best one. They don't know what it's like picking and producing or being self-critical of your own stuff. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be hard on yourself because we've all done that.
Yeah.
But like, it's life is already hard enough. Like, we don't need a thousand we don't you don't need thousands of people to tell you, "Oh, well, your stuff sucks. You're just trash." That's not helpful.
No, it's
It's
not.
not. It's
It's
not helpful. Like,
and
these people,
a lot of times I don't even think they're criticizing the music. I just think for some reason they want a reason to not like you or me or whoever that they are criticizing. Like I don't even think a lot of these people are actually listening to the music. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they just have this
I think you're right. Like,
predetermined like angst and hate towards people for some reason. You know what I mean?
yeah. And the other thing is like, and I heard this before, and I think this is a good point. Like, people are like, "Oh, well, they associate him with his skin color.
Yeah.
They associate him with him being angry. So he's an angry white rapper. So we
Yeah.
don't like him. Like, because he's okay. First off, I'm not. I have nothing to be angry about.
Hmm.
I mean, there are things that I am angry about,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna let you know what I'm angry about. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
gonna sit there and be like, yo, my lyrics are dope. And I'm not gonna try and copy Vinny Paz, first off.
Hmm.
Second off, um, I'm not here to I'm not like, this is the thing, and this is what I heard. People say they don't like angry white rappers because it reminds them of the kind of anger that Trump uh imposes on people. And I was like, I mean, personally, I'm not for the guy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that, I can see people's point on that, but I think that people
It's
can be
silly. It's
angry about what
silly. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
asinine.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's a crazy association to have. Like, because
Yeah,
people there
correlation does not equal causation.
and like there's been angry white rappers before Trump was ever really even like popular in the news. There's
Yeah,
yeah, Vinny Paz, there was Ill Bill, there was what Cage, there's Necro, there's all sorts, there's a whole list of people. RA,
right,
you know what I
right, right.
mean? Especially early RA, you know what I mean? Like,
Like the thing is, and Cool G Rap even said this, and who was it? Cool Herc, DJ Cool Herc said this.
mm-hmm,
The modern father of hip hop, although some would disagree, but that's the thing is in the early days of hip hop, there was never it was never white, black, this, that. It
mm-hmm.
was, it was meant to be for everybody.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's gotten so skewed because of different viewpoints.
I think the media has kind of created that narrative of like white
Yes.
versus black rapper, because Eminem got really popular, like this white rapper, blah 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 blah, with the blonde
Yeah,
hair, blah blah
let's
blah
let's use
blah.
a label for this. Let's label
Yeah.
this guy because he's the first of his kind. Well, then we say, well, what about Beastie Boys? And then people go quiet. Well, what about MC Search at their base? Oh, they go quiet.
Well, they don't
Like,
count Beastie Boys because Beastie Boys are Jewish.
yeah, yeah, that they'll put a label on it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
will put a label on it because they think, oh well, yeah, well, this person was a phenomenon. This was an exception. This was this. No,
Yeah.
guys, like this is actually history. This is the
Mm-hmm.
history that you are ignoring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I acknowledge the fact of uh the people who started this game,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's a problem because the thing is that and LL Cool J called out people about this, and I'm glad he did. They were saying that, or someone was saying, some DJ was saying that, oh well, these dusty rappers, like they didn't do anything for the culture, and he was pretty much saying that, like people who didn't make money off of the culture or anything like that, they did not, they didn't really contribute to the culture,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's an asinine remark.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. This culture was built from nothing,
Yeah.
and people don't realize or respect it. They don't respect its history. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying everybody has to know every facet in detail, but
Yeah.
it's like, we grow up going to school and those kinds of things. And yeah, there's times where that history might be skewed or we might think differently about that because it's like, well, this is what actually happened, not what we're taught. I get
Yeah.
that. But you would think that there should be some kind of history lesson about hip hop. But the problem is that there's figures up, at least up at the top, that don't want that.
Mm.
They want it to push like, oh well, hip hop has always been violent. Hip hop's always been this.
Yeah.
It's been that. They want to push it that because it's going to make them money.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about the music. They care about what goes in their pocket at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
they have no regard or respect for the culture. And this is not me trying to sound like a purist by
Mm-hmm.
any means. My issue is that people don't do their homework or history, and then they speak as if they do know it. That's a
Yeah.
problem. That's a
Yeah.
huge problem.
But I mean, even really popular rappers today, they shit on some of the old heads, you know what I mean? And be like, oh, you
Oh
just have
yeah,
that old
like,
sound, blah 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 blah, this and
oh
that.
yeah,
It's
you're
like,
just like your stuff sounds obsolete, and it's like
yeah.
not necessarily, dude.
Yeah.
Like you you're talking like 10 years ago. Like just because you're with the fad doesn't mean that stuff doesn't sound good.
Mm-hmm. The,
Like
the thing is, the beats change for sure, but like
yeah,
the human voice and what we could do with it, not a lot changes with that. You know what I mean? That's pretty consistent for, it could be consistent for hundreds of years, other than cultural differences, you know what I mean, and how society changes over time. But aside from that, like, you know, it's going to be pretty consistent with how people
mhm,
use words and rhyme
right,
and tell stories and things like that. Like, we,
right.
you know, aside from production, not a lot's changed since the birth of hip hop.
Yeah, it really hasn't. Like even if subject matter, varies, even if there's been different instances or historical pinpoints in history, such as with COVID-19, such as with different presidencies, whatever the case may be, it really hasn't varied that much. The only thing that has changed is the rhythm, the vibe,
yeah,
the topic, maybe here and there.
yeah.
But there hasn't really been much change to it. Now, everyone has a different preference, and that's totally fine, because there's some things that you will like that I may not care for, and vice versa, but I'm not going to shame you for that.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
that's, I think, but yeah, I think the internet, as great as a tool it is, it also lets people run rampant when they shouldn't.
There's not a lot of accountability with people and
Nope.
what they get to say online, especially when anonymity is involved.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like there's people who will make burner accounts just to go and talk trash to other people. And as tempting as that is for me to do, like that wouldn't make me better than them.
Yeah.
And I just, my choice, just like that guy that I saw, I only posted that because like that's ridiculous.
Well, dude,
The fact that
he had fire bars, bro.
oh yeah, oh man, he was gonna kill me. Bars, no cars. Oh man, he was gonna freaking rip me to the other side of the void, to the other side of the soul system.
Oh
Like
god.
I don't know what that guy was drinking that day, but I got to tell you, let people, I guess, be in their own world. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what goes on in the heads of these people, but I prefer to be grounded.
It's
And
it's gotta it's there is, and I don't usually get political or social, like talk about social issues too much on the show. Sometimes it comes up when
yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
it's topical. But man, we have a rampant mental health crisis in the United States. It's
Yes, we do.
completely unchecked because nobody can afford the fucking copays or the to seek to the help that they need. And
Oh yeah, it's I wholeheartedly agree. There's we do have a mental health crisis in more ways than one.
yeah,
And the thing is that big pharma is not uh again, it's the same thing. It's the same narrative that we've been talking about this entire time. Game companies, movie companies, record labels,
money,
now big pharma. It's the
money.
moolah. It's
Yeah.
the moolah. That's all they care about.
Yep.
And that's all they want. But when it comes to the people, or at least what they need, oh boy,
No,
as as
it's asking too
as
much.
right, as a good old mother said in Alien, all or crew expendable, all other points secondary.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
It's a rough reality.
It is a rough reality for certain,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of enjoyment to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Not to be
There's a lot.
grim.
Yeah, there's a lot of enjoyment to reality. I mean, hopefully, because I'm sure I have friends out there who, or even fans who have contemplated suicide or trying to find an easy way out. Like, hopefully they don't do that. I mean, I'm not encouraging that by any means, because, it's a real epidemic. It's a real problem. And hopefully they can get the help that they need, because I'm sure I have friends probably even close to me who, or even family who may contemplate that. Me personally, I don't have those thoughts, but I hope that, in the rough reality that we all live in, that people can at least get the reasonable help that they need.
Yeah.
Especially with all the ridiculous travesties that go on.
Yeah, it's like a movie out there. Since 2020, it's been like one event after another. Um it's
It's
wild.
crazy, man. I
Yeah.
remember when I proposed to my wife, that's when the George Floyd riots were happening. And we were actually adjacent to a protest happening up at the Capitol.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean,
brutal.
luckily we were out of that way,
Hmm.
but it's like you're not too far from where all this is going on, and luckily it was secluded enough that you didn't have to hear all that. Now, I'm not making light of those things. I'm just saying it's like, man, it's you have my life, other people have their lives, and then you have these other life events going in synchronization,
Yeah.
and you're trying to navigate through that without finding yourself in the fire of the storm.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can really do, I mean,
Yeah.
it's that whole thing was just crazy. Like we were all just going about our lives, but we had the pandemic, we had all the riots. Like the riots were like all around the world. Um, TikTok was just blowing up. The presidential elections were gearing up. Like it was yeah.
That was a tense time.
Yeah, what a time to be alive.
Can't imagine what it would be like in the what was it, 60s, 70s when
Yeah.
Vietnam was
Oh.
happening, and then
Oh.
apartheid,
Hmm.
and then you have
Yeah.
those presidential elections going on. You have the race riots going on,
Yeah. That.
and then later the LA riots happen years later. I can't imagine.
No, can't either. I mean, I can only kind of imagine just based off of what we saw, but yeah,
Yeah,
different time completely. Also,
yeah, because here in Salt Lake City, when the George Floyd riots were happening, some people flipped up a police car downtown in the heart of Salt Lake City
mm,
and set it on fire.
wow.
It was crazy.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, of course, you only see this stuff from the news. I'm not there, because they actually put a curfew at like 8 o'clock at night. That's how
Mm,
bad it was.
yeah.
That's probably about as wild as it gets in action with Salt Lake City.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there
Yeah.
was almost every city had. I mean, I was at the time I was living in Oxnard and I was out of work for like 6 months during quarantine, and I was
Yeah.
just locked up in. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we had some riots. It's not as big of a town as Salt Lake City or LA, but it's outside of LA. We
Yeah.
had riots. We had people throwing rocks at cars and people driving by and getting pepper sprayed and stuff like that, and just it was you know, and then LA wasn't that far away, and like you know, just the crazy stuff that was going on in LA. Everyone was boarding up their stores. Everyone was
Yeah.
getting
And
pepper
the whole
balled and stuff.
Rittenhouse situation, like
Yeah. Oh yeah, that happened
car
too. Yeah.
that was really bad. And
Yeah.
then yeah, this is why I guess for some I know Melvin Junko talked about this,
Hmm.
but he's like, or just echoing the sentiment is like, oh, you guys are like afraid of not having a social life. Well, this is exciting for me because now I'm alone, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
So I think this is what we've been talking for like 2.5 hours almost.
Yeah, it's been really good, man. I've enjoyed
Yeah.
talking with you. This
Yeah,
has been
definitely.
great.
Definitely. So
Yeah.
we can wrap it up here, but I have these two last things that I always end each session on.
Hmm.
First of all, any shout outs you want to give to people?
Oh man. If I forget anybody,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
we
gonna
shouted out a lot of people already, but anyone that you really want to show that love
let's
to.
see. Well, of course, my wife and my baby girl. They're they're doing good. They actually just walked out the door here with my
Oh,
sister-in-law,
oh cool.
trying to be as quiet as they can.
Mm.
But
Well, it didn't
yeah,
come up on my end, so I didn't hear it.
yeah, they're yeah, they're doing great. And of course, my parents, they've always been so encouraging with my stuff, and just to all my fans. I know it may not seem like that I have a lot of fans, but I know that they're out there. And I know I've got fans here, whether it be my family, friends, or just other random people. Let's see. Trying to really think of like who could I shout out? This is where it's hard because then it's like I want to have like a whole list of people, and then I don't really have that.
Mm.
My friend Boz, he's I play online with him. He's pretty cool. And let's see. Um, all the closer artists that I've worked with, like Ixion Forum and them, shout out to them, because they seem to be like really down to earth people who have been in the game for like over the years, and they've seen a lot of the stuff. And he and I have been really cool with a lot of stuff. Oh man, who else could I shout out? There's, of course, I dragged that, didn't mean to. Let's see. This is like harder than it should be. Well, I have to give a shout out to you for having me on the show, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Of course, all the people, all my family and friends, whether I get you by name or not, I really think about you guys a lot. You guys have really helped me, and hopefully I've done the same in return, uh, considering all the stuff that has been happening in the last few years, and been super busy just with personal life, but know that I care about you guys. Um, and of course, going back to my fans around the world, I'm pretty sure I have plenty of fans around, not just here, but I feel like I have a lot of fans out in like South Africa or just Africa in general.
Mm-hmm.
And big ups to them. They've been showing mad love and support, and I respect them for that. And if I could and had at least the funds to do that, I would go and do a show out there, because it's
For sure.
yeah, it would be incredible to go out there and see what the culture is like, and being able to connect with those people, and especially let's see, who else should I big up? Big ups to White Shadow. White Shadow and I have been really cool for years. And let's see, who else I'm trying to think of. Yeah, it's kind of hard, man. There's just so many people to
There are.
really like thank, that really got. I got to tell you, if it wasn't for my parents, my wife's advice, let me tell you, my wife is, as biased as I am, what I love about her is that she's not a yes woman.
Mm-hmm.
She will tell me how it is. She will tell me like, um, you know, you you know, you got to do this. Don't do this. And I really take it to heart. I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. My brother's the same way. Um, but yeah, that's really all the shout outs that I have.
Okay.
Right.
I got one person I want to shout out actually that comes to mind.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him in years, and I know that he doesn't rap anymore, but Killer Crush, the guy who actually showed me your music to begin with.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big ups to him.
Yeah, I got to give him a shout out for that because I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for him. So,
Oh yeah. I
yeah.
remember that. That was a long time ago.
It was
That
like
was one of
two
my very early collaborations.
that was like 2012 or something like that. Yeah.
Long time ago. I remember some of the collaborations, and I'm not saying that one, but there's some where I'm just like, kind of wish I didn't do that. Some of that was cringy more on my part than theirs, but it was like,
They happen, but
yeah, they do. But
mm,
I can tell you, I'm very selective about who I work with now. But I'm definitely open to working with people. It's just the vibe really has to match.
yeah, I'm the same way right now.
Yeah.
Uh, so this is the last thing that I always end the show on.
Okay.
Do you have any words of advice to any artist that might just be starting up?
Oh man, that's the big question. I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to give advice, but since you asked the question and this is my opportunity to do it, I think this is a good time for me to really talk about this. Hopefully, it might be in depth or just try to keep it short, whatever the case may be.
Whatever you want.
Okay, the first thing, artists, not everyone's going to like you. Not not everybody's going to like what you say, do, breathe, whatever it is that you do. You need to ignore them. You need to ignore those people. That doesn't mean that you can't improve, okay? But you've got to do your stuff how you want to do it. As I think Biggie had really good advice where he said, like, don't be a stupid rapper. And what that is it's not like someone who's rapping stupid stuff. It's someone who is not they keep listening to what others say more than what they want themselves. Or they let others make decisions for them. You've got to make the decisions for you. I'd say in that regard, you got to keep doing what you're doing. And if you'll improve along the way as you get more practice at it. You're not going to be good when you first start off, and don't expect to be a superstar. This is a hard game. Not everything is going to come to you. And if you're expecting overnight success, you're in the wrong industry. And if you're in it just for the money, I'm sorry, but that's not as great as money as a motivator is. It's also not. It really is not. I'd say number 2, don't sign anything without a lawyer. Do not sign anything without a lawyer, and make sure that you have a good lawyer. Make sure, I would say, encompass with that in point number 3. Be your own businessman or woman, or whatever you identify as. Don't let people walk on you, because if you let people walk on you your whole career, you'll never make the decisions that you need. You'll get ripped off. I know people, including myself, who have been ripped off by other artists. Even if it was very minuscule, it was still a life lesson learned for me. The other thing is, if don't ever sacrifice your integrity to match someone else's at a lower level. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that you're better than them. It just means that you have to compromise your values or what you believe in just to get product out there. Because if the vibe is not matching, don't do it. Don't just put crap out there. The other thing I would probably say is try to listen to other stuff outside of the hip hop realm or outside of whatever genre that you're making. You will find yourself more in tune with other vibes. And don't be afraid to really break the rules. I listened to Rick Rubin talk recently, and I think he's incredible. The things that he has talked about with, because he doesn't really have any like real musical knowledge. What he does is he just sits down, listens to his song, and he will tell you what needs to be in it and what needs to be out. And he's been doing that for guys like Johnny Cash and Eminem, and etc. And the one thing he does is sometimes you really have to be open to hearing things. Other times you don't need certain things. And so what you have to do is you have to be really just be as creative as you can be. Use everything to your advantage. Don't be afraid to try new stuff. Because that's how inventions are made. And lastly, I think the biggest advice is really, as many people say, is be yourself. You don't need, the one thing that I hear people say is that they're an up and coming artist. People need to stop using that term. You're either an artist or you're not. You either need to act like you're an artist or don't do it. There's no such thing as up and coming. You have to go, and I can understand where people are like, oh, well, I haven't put out my first song yet. That's cool. But you're wanting to become an artist. It doesn't mean that you're up and coming, because up and coming means like you are kind of in an in-between phase. There's no in-betweens with this game. You either are an artist or you're not. Plain and simple. And that leads to what I would probably consider the last point of being yourself. You don't have to be don't try to put the framework of, and we talked about this, is don't try to be the next Eminem. Don't try to be the next 50 Cent. Don't try to be the next Lil Wayne, Viddy Paz, whoever it is, or Mortal Technique. Be the next you. Because there's only one of you. Those people have done their work. They've done everything. It's time for you to do your stuff. And that's my advice from Marcanum X.
Beautifully said.
Well, thank you, man.
Of
I really
course.
appreciate it. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me on the show.
Yeah. And thank you so much for hopping on, man. Can't wait to put it out.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope people take something from this.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like, simple banter, just
I
enjoying
mean,
it,
it
it's
was a great conversation, man. It's always a pleasure.
yeah, it's very, very intelligent conversation.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Well, you have a wonderful day and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. Take it easy, my man.
Yeah. See ya.